This is Corrections Unlocked. What's up, guys? I'm Alex Duran. Welcome to Corrections Unlocked. Here at Corrections Unlocked, our mission is to share knowledge, to educate officers, and to inspire growth through our experiences working behind the walls. On today's episode, we go one-on-one with Officer Leon, who has been through many challenges as a correctional officer, and he walks us through his experience inside the walls. Leon, welcome to Corrections Unlocked.
Thank you for having me.
So we just want to get right into it. We know you've kind of worked a little bit of everywhere. You have a lot of experience and a lot of knowledge. Where did you start your career at?
Well, going back to the very beginning, I'd say let's even begin before I even decided to join the department. You know, having worked retail, grocery stores, eventually ended up working at a bank. That's where I started seeing other COs, other lieutenants, fire camp personnel, and you start asking questions, you start seeing the checks, and they start kind of like encouraging you to like, hey, you should apply. It's a good job. It's a good job.
It's good money.
It's good money, especially those fire camp guys, you know, at the bank, seeing them come in with their multi-$1,000 checks every month during the fire season. I'm like, oh, you know what? Let me give this a try. So one day out of the blue, I decided to apply with CDCR as well with the CHP. Both at the same time. With CDCR, at the time, they did have a sheet, you know, with certain institutions where they needed bodies. So if you'd like to go to these prisons, they're going to expedite your application. So I went that route. I remember applying, I think it was like around October. And by March, I was at the academy. I wasn't even halfway through the CHP process before I accepted a position at San Quentin State Prison.
I'm assuming the prisons that they were requesting people to go to were more of the higher level kind of high
San
security.
Quentin, Pelican Bay, Ironwood, High Desert. You know, the prisons that are remote, that nobody really wants to go just because of relocation and leaving the family or whoever behind. So when they called me, they didn't offer me anything but San Quentin. So I'm like, you know what, that's probably like a cool place to go work at. So I'm like, I pulled the trigger. I said, yeah, I'll accept the position. Yeah. So I had maybe a month to get everything ready. And March 10th, 2008 is when I reported to the academy.
How long was your guys' academy back in 2008?
It was 16 weeks. 16 weeks.
So 16 weeks of learning how to be a correctional officer. And I hear people say this a lot, like what you learn at the academy is completely different than actually working in a prison. 2008, 16 weeks of that academy. How was that?
It was pretty much what it's called, basic correctional academy. The basics, very cut and dry. Just enough to get you by the first weeks, surviving the first few weeks, months,
right,
at whatever institution you're reporting to. Certain classes were more important than others, obviously. The physical aspects of it were, or you know, the PT and whatnot were, I think, a joke in my opinion. I think it should be more intense, just because of, you know, responding to alarms and certain times when we have to wrestle with an inmate.
Right.
I think that's where it's more lacking. Everything else pretty much comes as you learn, and you know, observing your partners, or even with the inmates telling you how to run program in the unit or on the tier, wherever, you know, however the institution you go to and how the layout is.
Man, I think working like for the correctional institutions and stuff, we're probably the most least fit for the police agency statewide. I hate to say it that way,
but it's true.
It's very true. And like one of the things I think people don't realize is like when you're working in a prison, boom, an alarm kicks off. We have to go from sitting down or standing to like, hopefully not a full sprint, but you have to get from point A to point B ready to go, to exert your body and your adrenaline and your heart rate. The amount of stress you go through in the 10, 15, 30 seconds is just, sometimes it's crazy, but if you're not working out or running, you're going to pull a hamstring, you're going to pull a muscle, you're going to feel it in your back. And I still don't run as much as I should till this day. I realize that's something that we definitely lack in.
Especially the cardio aspect of it is probably the most important one.
We have no cardio. I have no cardio. I have horrible asthma. Running is probably one of the best things I should be doing. But even till this day, it's something I really lack.
I don't even think it's necessarily just the running, just any type of aerobic exercise to get your heart running and get used to getting your heart pumping and going. So
Right.
it's like your body is adjusting to it and not be as much out of breath when you show up to the alarm and you're not huffing and puffing and
Right.
breathing in massive amounts of OC or
Yeah.
the blast grenade just because you're out of breath.
Right.
So I think that makes it a little bit more worse.
How was it working at San Quentin? I mean, you did your 16 weeks and you said you started at San Quentin.
San Quentin, yeah, showed up January 30th, around that time. When we showed up, it was about 10, 12 of us, and they didn't know we were coming. We show up, they're like, what the heck are you guys doing here?
Oh, shit.
So the first week was pretty much kind of like what it is now, like a little bit of a shadowing type of deal. Like, hey, go to this unit or whatever and just hang out. Then the following week was the actual IST portion of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, it's like, I remember the assignment sergeant showing up to the classroom and say, these are your assignments for the week. Come Monday morning, I was assigned to BPH, Board of Prison Terms, there at San Quentin. I remember showing up early, 5:30. Luckily, there was another officer there. This unit specifically there at San Quentin, the lowest seniority biddable officer had 16 years in.
Yeah, I was going to say that's a pretty seasoned.
It's a seasoned, high seniority veteran
And you're in there
position.
brand new.
Here I am, brand new.
They're like, what the fuck is this guy doing here?
That Officer Anderson, I still remember her. I remember I went to her. I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm brand new. I don't know what to do. And she's like, don't worry. It's like, just hang out. Or everybody show up. We'll get you going.
Good.
So that first day was pretty stressful just because of job that entailed where we were located, doing these escorts up pretty much to the front of the institution. You're escorting up to, 15, 20 inmates. And sometimes you're doing it by yourself.
Damn.
Handcuffing, especially the first day when you show up, you're handcuffing. When you're actually doing it on the line compared to the academy, that's a whole different ballgame. That's a whole different.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, okay, now I'm handcuffing an inmate. It's like, am I cuffing him too loose, too tight? Is he going to complain? They're facing you and they're telling you, they can't be facing you because you can wrap those chains around your neck and all this. All this stuff is running through my head.
Yeah.
But, the officers there,
For war.
Anderson was there and she's like, no, you're doing it good. It's like, you're doing it right. Just keep doing it, keep doing it. So that was their first day, BPH. After that, it was bounce around for the rest of the week. The rest of the week, it seemed I was working the death row unit on second watch, which that in itself was it was an experience to say the least.
Whole death row unit.
Death row unit.
I mean,
5 tiers, 2 sides.
probably a bunch of high security,
High notoriety inmates, from your Marcus Wesson to your Scott Peterson, Richard Allen Davis.
just to be in that area was probably just intense.
Actually, it was actually pretty mellow compared to the death row. Actually, was ran like a lockup unit.
Oh, okay.
But in a way, it was kind of mellow than your standard lockup ATSEG unit.
That's good. I was told that one of the guys you mentioned, his window actually faced out towards the ocean.
Scott Peterson.
Is that true?
When he actually showed up, I don't know exactly what cell he was located at, but he eventually moved to a different unit. It was like a privileged death row unit. It was on top of a roof.
Damn.
So there was actually no windows for them to look out. So it was an enclosed unit on the top of a building.
Luxury suite.
It was a luxury suite, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I could not afford that. So you work at San Quentin. How long did you work there for?
I was there for approximately 3 years. 3 years.
You try to come back closer to
That's
home.
when I was trying to come closer to home, family, friends, whatnot. So I put a transfer packet in, not expecting anything. I think I did all the local prisons here, like Avenal, Pleasant Valley, Chowchilla, Corcoran, Sativ, whatnot. Avenal was the first one that called me up and said, you want to come over? I said, sure, I'll head on over.
Avenal
State Prison. So I picked up a very few belongings I had at San Quentin, and it was around January 2011 when I reported to Avenal.
So real quick, backtrack. When you lived in San Quentin, did you just stay in an apartment?
I actually stayed at a family member's house, kind of like a crash pad.
Oh, okay.
Luckily, I had some family that lived up there. But it wasn't... I didn't reach out to them until after maybe a month or 2 months. So for the first month, I was actually living out of my car.
Damn.
I had a Ford Focus. I took the back seat out so I can put the rest flat down. Had a sleeping bag. Always
made
had
it work.
clothing in my car. We had a gym to go in there, take a shower. Pretty much, you had to make it work.
Right. Because you just took a position hours away from your home
Pretty much
to start a career to make money.
Not really had a plan in mind, and it's we had internet. Of course, we had internet, but it wasn't like the apps that we have now, where it makes it easier to find a roommate or somewhere to stay.
Yeah,
everything was off of Craigslist, and Craigslist is
you can get killed.
Found out how sketchy that website is.
Yeah. Meet me at 1:00 at night. Go through the garage.
I have a room for rent in the basement, though.
Yeah. Take your clothes off and don't move. Like, whoa, just trying to rent a room, man.
Yeah.
Damn, that's scary. So San Quentin, then you come back to Central Valley, Avenal.
Avenal State Prison.
I know Avenal is a lower level prison, but I'm assuming, and this is just from what I've heard, there's some pretty big riots over there. Is that true, or?
When I was there, we had one big riot that I remember, and it was on Facility 4, Facility Delta. They went through different names. It was the SNY facility. Mm-hmm. And I remember at the time I was working in the ATSEG unit, housing unit 140, and that buildings, when there's like stuff that happens in the yard and they got to man the buildings there are not manned by gunners. Mm. So if anything would happen, the ATSEG officers would go to the Sally Port, which is near that building, arm up, and the OP would drop them off behind the buildings.
Damn.
So this riot specifically happened during shift change.
They set that up.
They set it up.
That's good.
Because I remember we working in that building on third watch. It's like once you got to know the staff, it's like everybody showed up half an hour early, knock out the showers and all that. So you can do your own program afterwards. So we always showed up at 2:00. So luckily we were ready to go at 2:30 when it went off. Went to the buildings. Every single building went off. The yard went off.
Damn.
It was
not just one area.
Not just one area. The whole yard went off. Buildings, everything.
Was that between like a GP type of?
It was all SNY, so it was.
Well, everyone just nutted.
It was just
Wow.
Yeah. I can't remember exactly what it was. If it was between the SNY gangs or what it was, but I just remember responding, going up to the control and pretty much regaining control of the building.
Damn, dude.
Where I got dropped off.
That happened, maybe 12, 13 years ago, you think?
Yeah.
I'm just assuming you can still, remember the adrenaline your body went through when you think about that.
Oh, yeah. I still remember certain stuff. I still remember certain inmate that kind of tested my button, because over there it's not like cells. It's like dorms.
Oh, it's all open.
It's all open. So it's
right in your face.
You're pretty much observing the whole building and making sure the movement's controlled or whatnot. And certain inmates were trying to test you, trying to do this. And you're as a gunner, you're like, hey,
right,
where the fuck you going,
Yeah.
And, luckily, you had certain sergeants that would see that and automatically they'll respond. They're like, hey, what's going on, whatever.
Right.
And kind of go over there and check them.
Damn.
So certain events, it's funny how you recall certain stuff, certain inmates, certain officers that just for some reason you just can't forget it. It just sticks in your memory.
There's always certain people that challenge you throughout your career, and the way you deal with those situations, good or bad, they always stick with you. And I always go back to little things I struggled with or learned. And if you have a problem with something, you deal with it right there, right now. I got told that by a 120-pound dude. He really wasn't tough, but he was, in his head, he was hard as fuck. And those words stuck with me probably every day. And I live by those words. If I had a problem with something, I didn't want to dwell on it. I didn't want to sit on it. I didn't want to go home and take it back home and be angry or agitated. And I'm not a big guy, so if I had a problem with something, I ran that through my head and I just said, hey, no, that's not fair. That's not policy. You're not going to do that. And he's like, you sure you want to tell me that? And in my head, I was thinking, no, I'm not, because you're probably going to hurt me. But policy procedures, this is what we're enforcing. This is what I get paid to do. So I fucking did it.
And half of the time, those inmates, once you told them that, they were like, okay, that's her. All right, we'll meet somewhere in the middle. And
it's all a test.
Yeah.
Where are you at? What are you going to do? Hey, man, I'm not trying to fight you. I'm not trying to flex on you, but I'm going to do my job. Mm-hmm. And if it's going to cause me getting hit in the face, I used to get beat up when I was in kindergarten. fighting over a fire truck. You know what I mean? So at least I'm getting paid, somewhat, taking care of my kids and family, whatever. If I got to get beat up, well, it is what it is.
It is what it is.
But no, you're right. Little things like that. I mean, I think about those things. I've experienced those things. And what a lot of guys I know to struggle with is they'll be challenged and they don't deal with it appropriately, or they second guess themselves.
And they back off.
Yeah. And then they go home and they do the what if, or I should have done this. And they Monday night quarterback themselves like a bunch of other assholes that we work with. And it eats them up. And then they start doubting themselves. And it's like, dude, you can't do that. You cannot do that. If you lost it, let it go. It's a cat and mouse game. You can't win everything. Take your losses, take your wins. So like little things like that, I notice a lot of officers struggle with. And then they become real agitated and irritated and disgruntled. And then they kind of they put that on officers. And I hate seeing that. But no, dealing with challenges and overcoming them is one of the most challenging things being a correctional officer, in my opinion, because you're being challenged every day.
Oh yeah, backtracking a little bit too is admitting when you're wrong. Say you're enforcing something and you're in the wrong. If you go up to that inmate, you know what, I fucked up. It was, you know what, you're in the right. I'm gonna make it right. Whatever. I won't fucking disrespect you that way. You're gonna get more respect by them. You going up to them and admitting that you're wrong.
Yeah.
Compared to like just or just ignoring it, and just saying you're always right.
Yeah, they lose complete respect for you. I remember seeing an old school Crip. He was gangster as fuck. There was a bunch of other Crips, and there was a bunch of officers. Some of the younger Crips would walk up past an out of bounds line to see how an officer reacted. And I came out of the building, I was a brand new sergeant, and I walked up to him, and he just said, hey man, all my guys are walking up to your cops and testing them. We lose respect for every cop that doesn't enforce the rules. So all we ask is that you do what we know is supposed to be done. Mm-hmm. And every cop's like, oh, it's not a big deal. I'm going to let it go. But in reality, this hardcore gangster is expecting you to do your job. And a lot of people don't see that. You have one or two cops like, yeah, whatever, it's cool. And then you have one or two cops that are like, hey, man, you're out of bounds. I need you to take it back. And then you got a couple cops that don't know how to like find their flow yet. So they're like, stop. They get a little too crazy.
A little too excited about the situation.
So that's when, we kind of step in and say, hey, man, slow down a little bit. You'll be all right. People struggle with that kind of stuff, man. It's difficult.
It's difficult, and then it's just so much of how the prison has changed. Like, we don't have the yards anymore. We have all these GP facilities, GP yards, with these hardcore gangsters where it's all about respect. Now it's kind of like Mickey Mouse, kind of like Disneyland,
Yeah.
It's new officers coming in. It's the whole different breed, a whole different mentality. They're never going to experience what we experienced. And even then, it's like we just experienced some cops before us experience, the actual hardcore stuff,
Right. And you came from a time to where, you learn from people that were, not necessarily mean, but they were rough.
Yeah.
Like you're going to learn whether you like it or not.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not going to baby you. Tough love, tough skin, figure it out.
Especially at San Quentin, those OGs over there. It's like some of them, it's like you show up early to get a rundown. They'll toss you the keys. Here you go, kid. Thanks for the relief. And here you are trying to, learn the program by the inmates telling you what to do or just, reaching out your partners and hopefully they actually tell you what to do. It was pretty tough working at San Quentin. It was a whole different breed, different mentality. It was pretty rough over there. But once the staff got to know you, I think it wasn't until about the 3-month mark. That's where I honestly enjoyed going to work at San Quentin. I freaking loved it.
I've heard a lot of good things about San Quentin. I know it's old school, prison.
Very old school. Very old school. They still have the old school mentality, even to responding alarms. It's running on the tiers, and then all of a sudden you're there after the alarm's cleared, and there are all these inmates all around you, and you're like, how the fuck did I get here?
That's scary.
Walking those tiers, the reception center, you got all these inmates on the tier, and you're just the only one on the tier, locking all these inmates up.
That's scary. When you think of like, you see stuff like that on TV, and then now you're actually doing it.
Now you're actually doing it.
And you're on the tier, and you're opening your eyes, and you're like, this is real.
You better hope that, that one gunner is actually keeping an eye on you, not in the back, asleep.
And I hate saying it like this, but I feel like a lot of new officers don't understand that. They don't understand when you're working in a prison and you're pulling inmates out, you're escorting, you're on a tier, how violent or what that guy did to be there. They get comfortable with Oh, this dude's cool. Oh, we shoot the shit, we bullshit. Cool. I love shooting the shit with inmates and talking and building a rapport. But within a second, I'm ready to go hands on and fight for my life if I need to.
Exactly. There's nothing wrong with being comfortable, but never let your guard down.
And I don't see that anymore. And I like to goof around and fuck around and talk, but at the same time, I'm kind of like a crazy chihuahua. Like, I'll bite you if I have to. Probably won't be a big bite, but it's going to do something, maybe, I don't know. But nowadays, I just feel like the kids are so comfortable with like, oh no, this dude's cool, he would never do that. Mm-hmm. And then a month later, they're in awe because this dude just tried to stab them in the face.
Exactly.
And they're like, and then they call out sick. They're not showing up to work. They're late. All of a sudden, they gain 30 pounds. Completely lost sight of themselves, their career, their passion, because they trusted somebody, and in return, they got what ultimately should have been expected. Somebody like you understand that. Nowadays, I feel like they need to take it more serious, and that's why, I really harp on, hey, talk to these officers, show them what these guys are capable of, show them what they did, so that way when shit hits the fan, they know what they're dealing with. Mm-hmm. What do you think about that?
I mean, there's never a shortage of people wanting to teach younger officers. It's just a lot of them, I think, like including myself, is, especially at our institution, that now we carry cameras. So now we're weary of what we're going to actually do or how we're going to respond to a situation compared to how we learned how to handle a situation. Because anything can go sideways at any minute.
I've been seeing kind of both sides of the table, and it's like, a lot of stuff that we're getting in trouble for is just complacent stuff. It's really nothing really bad. It's just more like, oh, I didn't wear a face shield. Oh, I messed up. Cool. It's fixable stuff.
The inconvenience items and stuff.
San Quentin, then you go to Avenal. How was your experience there?
When I was at Avenal, I hated it.
Oh, shit.
I hated it. It was too slow for me. I was younger. I was more gung-ho.
Yeah.
But I was honestly miserable at Avenal. There's a couple of cool staff that I met there. But overall, I was not happy there.
Slow paced?
Slow paced. Open dormitories, as far as the setting. Every single yard pretty much was the same program.
Right. Open dorms give me anxiety.
Yeah, because you really don't have control.
No control.
No control. And the way the buildings were set up, like the officer's table, so to speak, especially like on third watch, was as soon as you walk into the building, there's that day room table. That was like the officer's table right there. You sat there, you ate there, and you have these inmates walking around, seeing what you're eating, making comments. It was like you never had any peace to yourself.
Just watching everything.
Just watching you. Yeah. Second watch, you were pretty much at the desks on the intercom, medical ducats, appointments, and whatnot. So second watch, you're a little bit more busy. Third watch, more laid back, pretty much sitting more at the table, yard release, chow. First watch, even more boring.
Oh my gosh.
I guess it's more a retirement place, I guess, but at the time I was like, I had to get out of there. Luckily that AB 109 hit. I saw the opportunity, and
what was AB 109?
AB 109 was, I honestly can't recall. I just remember, a lot of releasing of inmates to certain factors and releasing the populations, which in return lessened the staffing packages of institutions. So if you're considered like a surplus at the institution, you were given the option of transferring to a different institution that didn't have a surplus.
What did that mean? Transferring
to another prison, or you you could have stayed and run the risk of getting fired or nothing happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. So where did you go after that?
So they started with different waves. The first wave, they were offering, I think, monetary incentive to relocating and accepting a different job. So obviously, there's a lot of people that had time in that wanted to transfer and kind of set themselves for retirement and get that extra money. So they jumped on it. I didn't get anything. I put in like Salinas Valley, CSP SAC. And I thought for sure I was going to go to Salinas Valley.
Big, heavy, busy prisons.
And I got denied on the first wave.
Wow.
I was going to surprised. So there, I waited a little bit longer for the second wave. So I went with the local prisons again. Corcoran, Sativ, Kern Valley, Pleasant Valley, Chowchilla. And it was Corcoran that called me up to report as a PI.
Sat F or Core 1?
Core 1.
Oh.
So they called me up and say, hey, we got a position, but it's going to be a PI. So
PI is like
the permanent intermittent employee, pretty much.
So you're just working a few days a week?
Part-time, but at the time, they were calling me every single day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They needed staff.
They needed a staff. So
you reported to Corcoran.
I reported to Corcoran because I didn't want to get fired. I liked my money.
Yeah.
So I reported to Corcoran. Remember arriving at the parking lot, not knowing where to go and whatnot.
Right.
The first
layout's
officer,
a little weird, yeah.
Yeah, the first officer I ran into was Officer Moyer. And I know a lot of people remember Officer Moyer, one of the OGs working on 3A back in the hub. I just remember his funny personality and just the way his mannerism, the way he liked to joke around and talk and whatnot.
That's awesome.
So he showed me where the IST building, showed up, and there I am again, the third prison. 5 years and some change.
Man, it's a lot to take in.
A lot to take in 5 years. A lot of relocating, a lot of people to meet and learn, and the different programs with each institution.
So how was that transition? I mean, did you...
In the beginning, it was pretty rough. As a PI, they would call us every shift. I think we were the first one to get called before, the overtime and whatnot. But it was one of those things. It's like you didn't get to choose your job. You didn't get to choose what days off you have. And it's like kind of defeated the purpose of being a PI, being on call.
Right.
You should be able to work when you want, not having days off. But we got days off. And I think certain shifts you can work.
You did that for a while?
I did that for a year. I think after 2 months after arriving to Corcoran, they called me to offer me a OCHAP position, an overtime avoidance position, which was full time, pretty much coverage.
Yeah, but they couldn't hold you over?
They used to get held over, even as a PI. There was like two occasions where they held us over when they shouldn't have, because they're always pushing the envelope and see what they can and can't do. So when they called me for the OCHAP position, I'm all like, is it full time? Can I pick my shift and whatnot?
Right.
I mean, I didn't have nothing coming, but I was hoping to stay on third watch.
Right. Yeah.
The personnel lieutenant told me no. So I told him, well, with all due respect, I'm passing up on the position. Call me back when you have full time. So I went.
I'll be here.
Pretty much the rest of the year, and it wasn't until I got to Corcoran in March, October. Later on that year was when I rolled over full time.
Nice.
So working at Corcoran, I worked the crappiest buildings and yards as a PI, because obviously the watch office didn't know me, so I was just a body.
Right. Put them where we need them.
Pretty much. And it was always 303, 304 when it was the ATSIG building still. 3B when it was SNY level 4. It was always rocking and rolling, level 1 and 4A. That's all I saw.
Beautiful.
So
you got to learn real quick.
I had to learn real quick, and I'm working those buildings, so I know what these new officers feel when they land at Corcoran. It's like I've been there before, so it's like it sucks, but if you have good partners, it's going to be a good shift.
I want to just say something, piggyback off of what you said. Like, you worked these tougher areas. You've put your time in there. You've had to prove yourself. There's a lot of newer cops I see that are working some of these busier areas, and then they see somebody like you now, and they're like, oh, he doesn't know what we're going through.
Oh, exactly. I mean, he's in the watch. He just sits in the office.
And I'm like, you need to understand, like, if you see somebody that's been, walking around here with a little bit of time, try to give them the respect, because you don't know what they've been through. You don't know their experience, but they've been doing this a whole lot longer than you. So at least respect that. So I've always respected time. I've always respected my partners, good or bad. Asshole, nice guy. I gave my respect, whether they had it coming or not. I respected their time,
or at least get to know the person and find out exactly what what their background is. Check their paperwork and then talk the shit that you want to. Because there is a couple that have skated by and had it easy, and
there's always a few bad apples out there. You put in a lot of time at Corcoran.
Yeah, that's mostly where I've put my time in. I have March 2013 until where I'm at right now.
What is, I mean, transferring from like Avenal to Corcoran, what are some of the most like craziest incidents you can recall off the top of your head? Because I know there's always a few that we kind of struggle with inside, you know?
I think that my biggest issue transferring to Corcoran was working the control booths. Because the other previous two prisons didn't have control booths. So that was like a whole different ballgame.
Right.
That was a whole
Different layout.
the whole different posts.
Right.
Where it's like, holy crap, how do I perform my job up here?
Nobody really shows you that.
No, you don't. And then unless you're a floor cop working in those buildings, then you can transition to the control booth because you already know how to work the building.
Mm-hmm.
You know the cops, you have an idea, then it's easier. But when you have no idea and just getting stuck in the control booth and running program, letting the inmates out,
Scary.
half of the time your floor cops are non-regulars, they're coverage cops, you're asking them for help, they're telling you I'm not regulars. Yeah, so it was a nightmare when I got there and trying to learn that the control booth job.
There's a lot of responsibility. I mean, you're opening, closing doors for the whole building. You're letting in a lot of movement,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't really necessarily know what these guys are doing. Some of them could be trying to come out to stab somebody. Somebody could be trying to come out to get some dope. Somebody could be coming out to try to assault your partner. So it's like stressful.
Yeah. The same thing, when we had level 1 open, the other previous two institutions had, level 1 facilities. So that wasn't too bad. The only difference was I think the inmates at Corcoran at the time were a little bit more involved in activities, so to speak. There was more incidents, more drug-related problems. So it was a little bit more busier. But I always liked working the ATSEG units, 4A, even 3A03 and 304. And I remember at the time when, as a PI, I never answered my phone when they called me. So I always called back and I would always ask, hey, do you guys have 303, 304 open? And I remember they would laugh at me.
Yeah.
Like, you really want to work there?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, you guys keep putting me in there.
I'm used to it.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
I'm comfortable.
you have
now.
regular partners in there. I'm like, hey,
Yeah.
keep putting me in there.
Man, so you put a little bit of experience there and you got comfortable. What are some of the things like you face, like challenges, trying to balance working at a maximum security prison and then coming home and trying to manage like your life? Did you struggle with anything? Because you got 16, 17 years in. I know like after a few years of working in the prison system, people really start doubting themselves on, is this what I want to do? Did I hit a plateau?
I think the only time I hit that idea, if I was doing the right thing, it was when I was at San Quentin, being on first watch and getting held over almost every single day.
Oof.
And driving home, falling asleep at the wheel and doubting yourself. I'm like, did I make the right choice?
Right.
Here I am falling asleep at the wheel, is it worth it?
Right.
That's the only time I really question myself if I was doing the right thing.
Right.
Besides that, I've never questioned myself if I was in the right career. For one, we make good money, and it's all about what you make out of it.
Right.
I mean, granted, it's not always, a great place to work at. There's always different policies changing and morale being down and whatnot. But in the end, it's honestly a good job.
It is. And morale is something that I think every prison's been struggling with all the changes and COVID. And there's a lot of stuff going on. I always ask myself, like, if morale's bad, what am I doing to make it better? Am I doing anything? Can I bring, donuts? Can I have a potluck? Can I be positive? So I try to do that to help people out.
Right.
And I notice if I do that, maybe the following day, somebody's a little bit more upbeat or enlightened. Or just like with reading inmates, if I'm like, hey man, how's it going? And you're trying to talk to somebody, you can tell if somebody's having a bad day, And if somebody's
Definitely.
struggling with something outside of work, because we all deal with shit, whether it's stress, anxiety, relationships, money, we're all dealing with certain things. Maybe I need to pick up the slack that day. Kind of let my partner decompress or not pick at him, but if maybe he wants to talk a little bit, try to get him to open up about what's going on.
I think that's one of our issues too, being a correctional officer, is opening up to our problems and just the way we feel.
Right.
Because there's that sense of being like macho or being weak, having that moment of weakness and actually expressing how you feel.
Right.
That's the one thing that I've worked on myself, being more vocal. I still struggle with it, but I've noticed that you feel much better once you open up.
Talk about it.
Whether it be with a friend, relative, whatever it is. There's always somebody there to listen.
We're very closed off. We're very like, we think a lot, we don't do a lot. You know, we want change, but we don't do change. And we cope with a lot of things we see, things we've dealt with, things we probably should have done differently, or maybe we're in trouble for little things. And we just sit on it, and it really affects us, especially when you're not trying to come out and talk or open up with things. What do you do to kind of balance that?
In the beginning, when I joined the department, I actually lost a lot of hobbies, just because, the getting held over and the constant changing the shifts, it was impossible to do anything.
Right.
So in the beginning, it does suck. You are going to have no life. There's major adjustment, but eventually I regained back certain hobbies, to help me cope with stress and just life in general. The two main things were music, going to concerts, playing on my guitar, and the other one is hiking and backpacking. So those were like my two major outlets outside of work that would help me cope with stress and just life in general.
And I know you say hiking, and that triggers something for me because I have an experience with you with hiking, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But
oh yeah, we will.
When you say hiking, I mean, when I think of hiking, I just think of going to National Park, Yosemite, walking for a few miles. What's hiking to you? Because you're on a whole other ball game.
Since you mentioned it that way, that's how I eventually started.
Okay.
I had a previous coworker that I would see him. He would always go on hikes, and he would always go like to Half Dome. I'm like, you know what? One of these days I want to do it. I think it was around the first time I tried to do Half Dome was like in 2014. Failed miserably. I remember getting maybe halfway there, and I was already half of the day's already gone.
How long is that? That's
round trip. You're talking about 16 miles.
Damn.
About 4,000 feet of elevation gain.
Jeez.
Okay. I just remember getting to like the 2 mile left mark junction. It was already like 2:00, and it was like, I'm not going to make it up there.
Yeah, I'm tapping there.
Decided to turn back around, and at the time I wasn't the unhealthiest, but I wasn't the healthiest. But let me tell you, the next day, I literally couldn't walk. Okay. I was just so freaking sore.
That sounds more similar to my hiking experience. Yeah.
So that was actually my first attempt as far as like hiking. So that following day, after doing that hike, I'm all like, I'm not going to let it beat me. I'm going to get to the top.
It triggered something.
It triggered something for me.
And it challenged you.
Yeah. So it wasn't until 2016 I tried it again. I was prepping a little bit. That's when I finally made it to the top.
Damn.
Took me longer than I expected.
Yeah.
But got to the top, and it opened up my eyes as far as what the hiking entails.
Right.
And I say that in a sense where while I was hiking, I would notice other people with these big old backpacks. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, our curiosity, it's like, hey, where are you guys going? What are you guys doing? Oh, we're backpacking so and so. We're doing for this amount of time, or we're doing the John Muir Trail. We're gonna be out here for like 2-3 weeks. So that was always in the back of my mind. So the more I got out there after the first time I summited Half Dome, just every summer I just expanded, and it eventually led into backpacking. I mean, granted, I would do like the camping, drive up to a campgrounds in your car, unload your tent and whatnot. But, backpacking, you're carrying all that stuff with you. Going out into the wilderness.
Yeah, whatever you got is what you got.
What you got is what you got, depending on where you're going for X amount of days, X amount of nights.
How often were you doing that?
I would say I'm a summer hiker. I only hike in the summer.
Okay.
I don't mess around with snow.
Yeah.
If there's any snow on the ground, it's like, I'm good.
Me too.
I like dry. I like to hike in shorts, minimal clothing, less stuff to carry. Hike as fast as you can, get your location, be able to enjoy everything that's out there. Type of hike. How
many miles are we talking about? Because like you say hiking, I'm thinking 2-3 miles, take some pictures.
Well, it all depends. It all depends on the trail, what I want to do, what I haven't done. Shortest trails, you're talking about 4 miles. And the longest trails, like the one where we'll talk about later was about 24-mile hike in one day.
Yeah. Yes, it was.
So it just depends on what I'm feeling, what I want to do.
I think when I talked to you around that time when I was getting into hiking, I don't remember what I was going through, but I think me and my girlfriend just broke up, and I wanted to get more into like nature and, weird shit and find myself. And I said, dude, I need to start hiking. I need to start getting out there and kind of like figuring out nature and life, And everyone said, hey, why don't you talk to Aldo? He fucking, he hikes all the time, does 15 miles, like whatever. And I'm like, I'll hit him up. And I remember talking to you about it, and you're like, well, I'm going to go do a hike in 2 weeks. I'm like, cool.
Clouds rest.
And I didn't, and I'm thinking, I'm in decent shape. I don't hike, I could do 100 push-ups, probably walk a mile. That's about it. Hiking's not my get down, but I wanted to try. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And I think you mentioned the one you said earlier, the Half Dome.
Half Dome, yeah.
I had no idea what Half Dome was. When you said Half Dome, I'm thinking football. I'm like, I could, no problem. I just remember you said, hey, get some like trekking poles.
Basic equipment, backpack, trekking poles, throw some snacks in there.
Yeah. And so,
water.
And I mentioned this to my buddy. I said, yeah, we're going to go on a hike. He's like, cool, where are you going? I said, I don't know, like, dome half. He's like, what the fuck? You mean half dome? I said, maybe. I said, I got to go buy some trekking poles. They're on sale at Big Five. He's like, hey, are you ready for that, Alex? I said, I have no idea. It sounds pretty serious. I said, nah, it's cool, man. Like, he's a good dude. Like, it's just, you know what I mean? Like, he'll help me out. We'll figure it out. I just remember you were very, like, you knew what you were talking about. And I had no idea what I was getting myself into. This is just from what I remember. But I remember you saying, like, be here at 4 a.m, and we're going to head out there. So I'm like, 4 a.m, I watched my TV show, ate my Pop-Tarts, and I head to your house, and I have no idea what I'm getting myself into. We go out to Yosemite, and it's like pitch black, and you're putting on your stuff, and I see people putting on their headbands with lights, and I'm trying to look like for my beef jerky, because all I did was eat. I had no idea, like I should have not have been there at all. I was excited to hike, I think I had like 2 Snickers, 2 waters, gum, and like, I don't even know what else was in my bag, but nothing to help me for what I was, 5-hour energy, I think. I remember you said, what was it called?
Clouds rest.
I should have realized clouds rest means like you're going to be hiking long enough to where you could probably reach the fucking clouds.
Definitely, yeah.
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I had no idea what that meant, and I'm all happy-go-lucky, and man, dude, you changed my world. Like I thought life differently after that.
You did the whole working out type of deal, but when you get out there hiking, that's a whole different ballgame. It's different.
Hey, but best experience ever. Best experience I've ever had, man. And I remember after that hike, I don't do cardio. I remember going to the gym and jogging 4 miles, like nothing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Remind you, I couldn't do a mile before. But just my story on that, I think we walked half a mile, maybe a mile, just to get to the hike.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then we start doing the actual hike, and we're hiking.
Getting to the switchbacks and the incline. And
oh, my gosh. After the first few miles, you start going through a mental, like, breakdown. You start, like, I was going through some weird shit in my head. I was going through, like, life and work and, like, money and, like, why am I doing this? And, why did I buy this truck? Like, just stupid shit. But it was good for me. I needed that. And I remember, like, we get to, like a not a lake, but, like, a little area where there was a water. Do you remember that?
The, what is it called? Vernal Falls? Nevada Falls way at the top, where there's the bridge and the waterfall at the top.
Is that where we got water? Where was that little area where we stopped?
We actually that was Little Yosemite Valley.
Okay, so when I saw you stop there and take your backpack off and pull out like a filtration system and get water, that's when it hit me like, this shit's serious. Like, my Mountain Dew is no good here.
This is survival 101 right here.
And then I should have realized when, because we walked by people and they're like, what are you guys doing? And we're doing clouds of rest. I had no idea what that meant. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, you're a savage. And I was like, that's very strange. to call me a savage. Why would they call me that? I didn't realize what I was getting myself into. So that hike, I mean, I think I stopped, I don't know, 8 times.
But you know what? You did very good for a long hike like that.
Dude, mentally, I went through like hell and back. And I remember when we got to the very top, and I sat down, I just remember laying there, and you're like, hey, we're going to relax and chill out, enjoy the scenery for about 30 minutes, 20 minutes, and then we get back and we're going to hike down. And I was like, all right, cool. You know, I'm going to eat something. I remember there was a hawk just flying.
Just circling around.
And I was like, that's strange, you know? And he like comes and sits next to me. And I was like, hey, is this normal? And I think you said something like, well, he thinks you're dying. And I was like, what the fuck? And I remember trying to get up, and I could not feel my legs. Like I started hitting my legs to get like circulation.
Yeah.
And like, this is where you went like straight 007 right here. You looked at me and you had this badass like GPS thing on your shoulder, and you're like, hey, do you want me to call the helicopter? And I was like, what the fuck? Like, and there was like a 72-year-old lady like that just hiked up there like nothing. And she was like, are you okay? I'm like, there is no way in hell I'm going to like look this stupid right now. So long story short, somehow get my fucking trekking stick up to stand up. And we hiked all the way back down.
All the way back down.
And like I went through like different,
I remember giving you, ibuprofen every couple miles.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude, I must have blacked out. I don't remember none of that. I just remember like going through like waves of energy, like you from nothing to like, let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That was just mind blowing to me. And I think I've told this story a few times to people at work, and they think I'm stupid. But I remember like we're not almost done, but we're like 17 miles in. And I remember seeing like this little Indian couple.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why is the guy walking away from the lady? And it's not hitting me because like I'm just going.
Yeah, and that was the funny part. The guy was the one running away, and the wife, the girlfriend, whatever she was the one staying behind.
I didn't have enough energy to like mentally process that, but I just remember we were walking up, and I'm like, okay, the guy is behind us now, this girl's in front of us, this is weird. And I remember like, I think you said like, hey, how's it going, or is everything okay? And she's like, oh, there's a bear. There's a bear on the other side of the mountain there. And I just remember like completely just dying inside with the emotions. And I just remember you just fucking nonchalant, like any other day. You're like, no problem. We'll scare it.
Make some noise.
Together.
Yep.
Use our trekking sticks. We'll approach it together. And I remember looking at you like, what the fuck did you just say, dude?
Are we really going to do this?
Yeah, like I was just like, this is how it's, what the fuck did he just say? And then you're like, you ready? And I said, yeah, go first, you know? And the chick was like, cool, yeah, because you sounded like a range, you know, like a fire safety person out there, whatever they call them. And you just started walking. And I think I had my Glock in my bag. And I'm just thinking like, this is not even going to put a dent in this fucking bear. But I was just thinking, all I got to do is outrun this little Indian chick, which I probably can't do right now.
You just got to outrun 3 of us.
Yeah. That's all I was thinking. Like, I just got to outrun one of these motherfuckers right here. And I just remember you going around and you guys start hitting your trekking sticks. And I'm like already like getting ready to sprint the other way. And I just remember hearing like a big commotion. And I want to say the bear fucking jumped.
Eventually, yeah, went off the side of the, well, not went off the cliff, but ran off down the cliff.
That really happened, right?
Yeah.
Because I thought about that and I told that story and I started telling myself that's fake. That really happened, right?
That really happened. Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
All right. Feel better now. How long was that hike?
What time? We started, about 6:30, and we got back to the car at maybe 5 in the afternoon.
Like 9 o'clock?
Yeah.
It was late, wasn't it?
Right before sundown, yeah.
Jeez. That was like 23, 24 miles?
24 miles.
Yeah. I went to work the next day. Could not walk. I was just ADA. And I was like, luckily I was in the position I was in at the time. I didn't have to do nothing but a bunch of paperwork on a computer, but I could not walk. I told people about that story and they were like, I thought you were going to go hike like 4 miles. I was like, so did I. Dude, that was an experience of my life.
Like you mentioned, like when you're like reflecting on life when it got tough, that's where I am now with my hiking and backpacking. I use it as an outlet to decompress, reflect on life, work out my problems, think about life or what I'm going through at that time. And it helps me cope with understanding what I'm going through and trying to find solutions to my issues.
That's awesome.
So that's where I guess the change went from actually enjoying the outdoors to using it as a stress reliever.
Right. Everybody has different ways of dealing with stress. And I want to say like the last year, I've noticed you've like did a complete 360. Like you've always been in good shape, but I've noticed like you've really leaned out. I noticed you're working out really hard. What was the transition that made you get into the whole dedication of actually your physique and your health?
Simpler terms, and to be honest, going through a divorce. I didn't want to go through the path of going out to bars, going out drinking, going out clubbing, drinking.
Right.
Because I knew that wasn't going to lead anywhere. I needed to find something more, or find something that was going to give me results, that was going to help me heal, that was going to help me better myself.
Right. Help you grow too.
To help you grow. I still remember the day. I still remember when, everything was, I guess, falling apart, not going my way. Having to relocate it to a new town, it's like I didn't know where to start. So I remember driving to work, on my phone, which I shouldn't be driving and being on my phone, but
right.
I got on Yelp and I just started typing in gyms, personal trainers, and of course a bunch of them popped up.
Right.
So there I went trying to pick and choose, and I got to this one specifically in Visalia called Vanderbilt. The reviews were awesome. They had been open for a while. So as soon as I got to work, I called, nobody answered. So I tried a different number, and luckily somebody answered, and come to find out now it was the owner that called me, Shane. And he's like, hey, what's going on? He's like, well, I'm going through some shit right now. I need an outlet. I need, something to help me out to get through what I'm going through right now. He's like, don't worry, I got you. I'll get somebody to call you in a second.
It's awesome.
And sure, 30 minutes later, one of the trainers called me, Ryan, say, hey, what's here? You want to come work out at the gym? I was like, yeah. It's like, this is what I'm going through and need a little bit of help. He's like, all right, what are you going for? He's like, I don't know. Right now, I don't have an idea. So
just want to get moving.
I just want to get moving.
Yeah.
She's like, okay. He told me to send him some stats, weight, height, pictures, and he said, I'll send you a meal plan. And I think this was like on a Wednesday. And he said, Monday morning, be here at 10 o'clock. Showed up, not knowing what to expect. First, I guess 30 minutes was kind of like a little talk, kind of like getting to know each other, like eventually laying out a plan of what we want to do, what I wanted to do, or like what direction I wanted to head into, and got it down to, a 3-day work week session. And this is with a personal trainer, somebody there guiding you, spotting you on everything and keeping track of your progress. So this was in July, and I'm not even going to count July as one of the months counting to this journey, because it was just a crash course.
Right.
Just the mindset of training this way was intense. It was crazy. I've never been put my body through this before.
Right.
Being sore every single day. That first month, 2 months, even into the 3 months, I questioned myself, like, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? This is a joke. It's like, right. I'm paying to be sore every day, and
right.
I was not enjoying it. And I guess it had to do with I wasn't seeing the results either. I guess I wanted that instant gratification. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to look good.
Yeah.
Right there and then.
When 1 month type of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And it wasn't happening. It wasn't around maybe September, October. It was like a switch. All of a sudden, it's like I noticed the weight. People have noticed it.
Right.
It made me feel good. My self-esteem, my confidence, I'm like, okay, it's going somewhere. Told the trainer, I'm like, you know what? I want to get more serious. I want to head a different direction. You know, he said, I got you, but it's going to suck.
Right.
It's
Nothing
suck.
in life's easy, man.
So then I remember every single time when he saw me, failing, on the sets, he goes, if this shit was easy, everybody would fucking do it. So after a couple of months, I can only say I embraced it. It changed my mind on the gym environment. Not understand what people that go to the gym to that extent go through.
Right.
And what they're trying to achieve. And at the same time, it's another outlet for me during the off season when I'm not hiking to deal with my demons, deal with my stress, and my confidence when I'm not on the trail.
How long have you been fucking working out like this now?
So, like I said, like the first month, I'm not even going to count. The second month maybe was, I'm going to call it maybe halftime. So maybe September, I want to say, when I actually started, okay, let's go, let's hit it hard. So honestly, maybe 5 months, 6 months tops.
Man, that's awesome. You've been dedicated to
Dedicated 3 times a week. And recently, with the gym, they relocated and bigger area. So now it's like where they have the option of staying there longer, not necessarily with the trainers. So you can do your own little training. So I've been, as soon as I'm done with my one-on-one session, I've been branching off and doing a little bit more just to get a little bit more in.
For you to say that is awesome, because in our line of work, it's real easy to fall off track. It's real easy to get stressed with a situation. You mentioned going through a divorce or whatever somebody has going on. It's real easy to fall off track and get stuck in a really dark place. And with our line of work, we work in a dark place. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So we feel like that's okay. That's a very scary thing.
And don't get me wrong, I was in that dark place.
Right.
Not to really go into detail what was going on. It's like I went through that dark place, and when I went to the gym, that's where it's like I used that darkness to guide me, and it's still guiding me to where it's leading me to, I don't know, I have no idea where it's going to lead me.
Right. But you feel better.
I feel better.
You feel more confident.
Confidence.
When you were in that dark place, did you notice how you were acting at work compared to how you are now?
Very quiet. My coworkers noticed it. They saw it in my face.
Right.
They were telling me, "You're all right. You're all right." And as a guy, it's like, "Yeah, I'll be all right. I'll be all right." And it wasn't until certain times when it's when I opened up, and it's this is what I'm going through, And going back, it's working on expressing what's on your mind, opening up to people,
right,
releasing that stress, and having somebody to hear you out, because there's always somebody to hear you out.
Right. Especially in our line of work, we get comfortable with not talking about things and getting stuck in a dark place because we feel like it's okay. Because in our line of work, you don't really talk about certain things. And then we get stuck with coping with those things alone. And another challenge that I noticed too is I see people open up, but they open up to the wrong people. Mm-hmm. And they open up to people that want to use their story for attention, or they want to use what they're going through to be the center of attention, or whatever you want to call it. And that really pisses me off when I see people talking about the wrong things for the wrong things. And it's that's what shelters us, and it makes us more conservative and quiet.
Not only that, just also what are people going to say about you?
Right.
One thing, it's I don't really say much, social media or whatever, but I'll give hints. I won't go in there and start ranting about it.
Right.
But I have people that have known it, people that follow me on social media, I've given hints. It's I'm not afraid to talk about what I'm going through, because it might help you, or you might have an answer to what I'm going through.
Right.
Maybe I was doing it for a cry of help. I don't know.
Right.
And
that's okay.
Yeah.
We all need it,
Yeah.
and that's one of the reasons why I'm so involved with trying to open up and do this whole Corrections Unlocked, is to talk about everything we're going through. Because if we sit and we dwell on certain things, you've seen it, I've seen it. There's a lot of people that they do the wrong things in their career, in their life. They do things that we could ultimately help in a sense. And I've seen you do a big 360. That's one of the reasons why I was so excited to bring you on the show is, man, you've, like you said, with your gym sessions and your workouts, but it's so much more than that. You know, it's so much more, like you said, than just working out. You're finding yourself as a person and you're realizing your potential.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so much broader than it was before. And it's endless. It could be so much, it can be huge. It's really up to you. And people forget, like, change happens now. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's all do this, then. No, you start right now.
You have to stop with the excuses, and you have to realize, like, something has to change.
Right. And for you to be committed, 6 months, that's huge. People do 30 days.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you see it all the time, especially like New Year's, the whole New Year's resolution.
Right.
1 month, 2 months, and then it's done.
Right. The gym's completely packed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have my own gym here now just because I don't like going to gyms. And it's a way for me to not have excuses to go to the gym. But man, New Year's came and I was all pumped up. I was like, I'm going to kill it this year. And I felt just like somebody walking into Planet Fitness. Come February 3rd, I was like, hey, happy hour, Applebee's.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I fucked it all up. But you got to keep pushing yourself and forcing yourself to stay on track.
Consistency.
And what you do now, I don't do it. I need to do it, is you're dieting.
Mm-hmm.
And the dieting is so hard, especially when, like, you go to work.
It's hard, but people are afraid of it because they think they got to stick to it without
24/7.
24/7 without deviating from it. And it's not that.
And you've seen that because you're doing it.
Yeah, because I'm doing it. It's fine to have a cheat day here and there.
Right.
Just having that cheat day, you ain't going to gain those 10 pounds back, or you're going to lose that muscle or whatever.
It's actually good for your body.
And it's good for your body.
Yeah.
You need the carbs eventually, especially if you're training at a higher level where it's like until failure, until when you're sore every single day. Right. You actually need all that food and nutrition and carbs to fuel your workouts.
No, you're right. And people like, I got a diet, and they start juicing for 3 days straight, or they eat lettuce and chicken for 3 days straight, and they're like, I'm done.
And then what happens after that? They go back to the same lifestyle, same habits.
McDonald's.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah. Kings.
It's honestly a lifestyle, but you can make it work to your own lifestyle. And it's pretty much trial and error in the beginning.
Right.
What works for you? If you have a busy lifestyle, what's the easiest foods you can make to meal prep, meals, what you like, what you don't like. And like I said, even during a cheat meal here and there just to make you feel good. There's nothing wrong with that.
No, you're right. You bring up a really good point. It's like, you don't need to be doing something 24/7, and once you realize you tailor it for you, your work schedule, your hours, your home life, there's no excuses. And that's the biggest problem I notice with people is, I'm working double today, or, I got to pick up the kids, or I got to clean the house, or I'm feeling sick. You can come up with every excuse in the book. I mean, I've done it. Ultimately, you have to make it work for you. Mm-hmm. If you're working 16 hours a day, cool. Wake up 30 minutes early, do 50 push-ups, do 50 crunches. If you do that 3 days a week for a month, you're going to notice a drastic change.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying, that's all you need to do. But for somebody that has an excuse, just make a little adjustment and be consistent. Like, you've done a huge change, and you've noticed huge results. Your physique, the definition in your body, your metabolism, your stamina, I bet is way better than you were before.
Than what it was at the beginning of our summer this past year. Yeah, definitely.
What is your routine like as far as eating?
So as far as eating in the mornings, it's very simple. It's either oatmeal, peanut butter, a little bit of honey. Sometimes if I don't do the protein, I'll do some eggs. That's usually when I have time. When I don't have time, I go the easy route, the cheat route, I call it, and I use the Gerber instant cereal.
That's your alternative.
That's
so
my
there's
alternative.
No excuse. I like that.
With protein and a little bit of honey for sweetness. And that's my morning, I guess, breakfast pre-workout meal.
Right.
If it's a workout day, I'll go to the gym. Basic stuff, pre-workout. Do my little workout, and then after that, I'll have my protein shake. Get ready for work. Usually I have meals prepped. And if I don't have meals prepped, I always have rice.
Clean carbs.
Jasmine rice. I have a rice cooker. There's no reason why you shouldn't have any rice.
Right.
You make rice every day and just have it ready.
Yeah.
Packaged and everything. As far as the protein, if I got time, chicken or steak, ground beef. My alternative, my cheat alternative is rotisserie chicken, which you can get it anywhere. Rotisserie chicken or tuna, which I do 6 ounces per meal, which is 2 meals per day. Then after that, I include, a little bit of avocado in those meals for the healthy cholesterol, I guess.
Healthy fats.
Healthy fats. Yeah. And then in the evenings, it's either a snack, it'll be like the rice cakes, peanut butter. If I'm hungry, if I feel like behind calories, I'll have like a donut or, a Danish.
And that's where people fall behind is they feel like, I can't do that. You do that,
yeah,
and you're still on track.
I'm still on track.
So, that's
and
awesome.
After a while, once you know your body, you know how much to eat, what not to eat, you don't have to use any of the tracking apps. Like a lot of people use the tracking apps. So how many carbs am I taking in? How many calories, macros, protein, whatever. You already know. And sometimes, and sometimes you just have to learn to listen to your body. Because there's days when I'll just eat one meal.
Yeah.
And I'll be done for the day. But the one thing that I always try to consume throughout the day is protein. And the easiest way is protein shake, or I use the Fairlife just to maintain the protein at least.
Fairlife's really good, actually.
Yeah. So you just have to listen to your body, stay consistent. Like I said, you can deviate from the meal here and there. It's not going to hurt you.
Yeah.
So you just have to tailor to your lifestyle. And like you're saying, if you're one of those like doing overtime, then do your overtime. There's plenty of foods out there.
Yeah.
That's tailored to eating healthier, high protein, lower carbs. And if you want to get more into it, you know how they take the dietary fiber, subtracts the calories, so you're eating less calories. Yeah. So it's like, go to the dietary aisle, you're going to find plenty of stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
So there's really no excuse.
No, there is no excuse. And I think people forget, too, like eating healthy and working, 80 hours a week. Eating healthy, it helps your metabolism. It helps with your stamina, your energy. And ultimately, you feel so much better throughout that day.
Exactly.
They don't see that.
The overall being of yourself.
They're just kind of like, hey, I'm just going to eat this, this, and that, and then I'm good. But like your body's tired, You're
sluggish.
Yeah.
You're sluggish. You're still tired.
So I think if they were to do it for a week or two and actually see the changes just in their body and their energy, it'll kind of like for you've noticed change with your workouts, your physique, and it kind of like triggers you like, I want more.
Yeah.
I want more. And you're in my opinion, you're somebody that like once you get results.
And I'm still I'm still considered a beginner in my eyes. I didn't even have touched the actual, intermediate.
So you're going to go all the way with it.
I'm heading towards all the way.
Yeah. And you're only going to like get stronger, bigger. You know what I mean? It's just going to keep progressing from there. I don't eat as clean as you. I wish I did. I'm not as dedicated. Today I started off good. I had my my yogurt smoothie shake. I had some Velveeta crackers for carbs, and I was going to stop there, right, until I had my meal that I meal prepped. And then one of my watch sergeant, she was running late, which is normal, and she brought food, right, a bunch of McDonald's.
Was it McDonald's breakfast?
Yeah,
sandwiches.
And I'm like, man, wow, look at that. And I'm thinking like, I don't need it, but it's just sitting there in front of me. And I'm kind of fat, like in my mind. So like, I ended up putting 2 of them together and making one.
Okay.
Completely just bad, right? And then I had 4 cookies. Like, but the thing is as bad as that sounds,
It was just a one-time thing for a couple of days,
well,
right?
yeah, hopefully. But like, I know, like you said, you know your body, right? So I know, like, I was like, I fucked up this morning, right? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling guilty. I'm walking around, dude, at work, just thinking about, like, man, look at my stomach. And I'm thinking, I know I got to do a little extra cardio today. When I eat dinner, it has to be no carb type of
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
You start to learn your body in a
exactly.
sense.
You know how to compensate for when you want to eat dirty, so to
Right.
speak.
Yeah. Eat dirty. I like that. But it's true. You kind of know and you can kind of gauge it. And
Well,
in return, you can do that, once or twice, 3, 4 times a week, as long as you're balancing it out.
yeah, yeah.
Balance is key for me.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, like but before I got here, I had my one meal and then I got hungry, so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna have a little cheat meal. So what? I ended up going to KFC, got me the 3 chicken strip little meal, and I didn't feel guilty about it just because I need the carbs, I need the protein. I had a good leg workout today, and tomorrow I'm planning to go do the boot camp, so I need the carbs. So it's all going to be beneficial to me. So it's
Hell yeah. What does a boot camp consist of? You do that once a
so
week? Or?
I've yet to go to this boot camp.
Oh,
So
okay.
this gym on Saturdays they offer boot camp. It's a 1 hour session. It's like $5. So certain trainers will run the boot camp. So it's more so like I won't say CrossFit type deal, but certain random exercises.
Yeah.
I hear about 15, 20 people go. They've always
Full
tried
body.
to, yeah, they always try to get me to go. So
Sounds
it's always
fun.
like, no, I'm good, or I'm either working. So I told Shane, my trainer, I told him, are you going to be here tomorrow? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'll be here if you're here. And that made me feel some type of way.
Yeah.
The trainer say, hey,
It's commitment.
It's commitment.
Yeah.
He said he's going to be here if I'm here. I told him, you know what? Let's be here at 8. He's like, be here at 7:30 then. We'll get a head start. So
Hell yeah.
that's where I'll be at tomorrow.
I'm sure you'll have a good experience. You'll meet new people.
I'll meet the afternoon people that I don't see because I usually go in the mornings.
Right.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, like, putting yourself in area where you're not comfortable, doing something that you don't normally do, it just opens up the door for change, for new opportunities. Maybe you'll meet a new workout partner or somebody else that's on the same road as you. It just opens up the door for so much more. And I feel like a lot of people get closed off with work and just like, I'm good here, sheltered, not talking in my dark place. And for someone like you, 15, 16 years in the department, 3 prisons, going through a divorce, like,
At my age, let's say I'm not that old, but I feel like
you're in good shape.
somebody
You look
in their
young.
early 40s.
A lot of people can do a complete 360. And I've seen it, you've seen it, to where they go the other way. Mm-hmm. And it sucks, So for you to commit to yourself, to work out the way you do, and to grow, you know what I mean? Because it's real easy to give up.
I didn't want to be one of the statistics.
No,
It's
you're right.
it's so easy to go that route.
Yeah. And I look up to you in that sense because everybody goes through challenges. Everybody faces, like you said earlier, demons. And they could eat you up if you let them, or you could face them. And it's not trying to, I'll face them tomorrow. No, it's face them right now.
Right there and then.
Whether it's making a call like you did for a gym, or whether it's calling somebody to start something new, a new hobby. We didn't really touch on your hiking because I know, and I wanted to talk about it, but, you would hike for 2-3 days. I
On the
hiked with
shorter
you one
ends,
time,
yeah,
and,
yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever do it again, but yeah, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many hobbies people can get into outside of work that will help you stay positive, that will help you grow. And just when you go to work, like, you're a whole new person. And people see that, new officers see that, your partners see that. And ultimately, it makes for what we talked about earlier, morale. It keeps the morale sane. It keeps the area positive. And that's kind of what we need to be around, because this isn't a job, it's a career. And people forget that we're dealing with inmates that are in an area where this is all they know, and this is their career, this is their life. And we need to be that positive aspect for them, for us. We can't be walking around negative,
Yeah. That's another thing too with my situation. I wanted to be more involved.
Mm-hmm.
So I put myself more out there. One thing was, of course, being a union rep. And I've branched out to, the IST department, being a T4T trainer. I've reached out to be a honor guard. So I'm branching out because I want to be more of a role model.
Right.
I want people to look up to me. I want people to come to me if they have issues. So I feel I have some experience, some knowledge, some life experience where I can pass on those knowledge or experiences.
You have a lot of experience. You started at Corcoran working the busiest areas where people quit, where people stop coming to work in those areas within a month. And you're successful, you're working a better area, and you have all that under your belt. People don't know that. That's one thing I hate when you see officers that see other officers and they're like, oh, well, he just works this area. He doesn't know. And it's like, no, he was you. Mm-hmm. He was in your shoes, and he went through it with his head up, and he got through it. And you need to do the same fucking thing. Yeah. They don't get that. Mm-hmm. So you have a lot to share. You have a lot of experience and knowledge. And people need to be approachable with asking that. If you can leave with anything for some advice for some of these officers, whether new, whether it's our fellow officers or peers, what advice can you leave off with, man?
To keep it short and sweet, I would say not to let life get you down.
What's your way of not letting life get you down?
There's more to the negativity in life. There's a lot of cool stuff to experience in life. It's not all about being stuck at work, being stuck in a rut. There's always a solution to make life better. We got to find those resources to better ourselves, be healthier in life, prolong our lifespans, to be able to enjoy those things in life.
Man, you're at a point in your career where you're doing exactly that. You're not brand new. You still got a little bit of time to do. Mm-hmm. And I feel like you're at a 360 point in your life where it's just a whole new door of opportunity open for you.
And I think it has to do a little bit that I'm reaching retirement. I'm 41. I'm trying to get to 50. And it's like, I want to continue past 50. Not necessarily working there, but I want to live past 50 and actually enjoy life and continue what I'm doing.
Right. I feel like you're going to be 50, ready to retire, and still like in your prime physique because you're fucking killing it right now.
That's the goal.
Hell yeah. I like that. Man, Aldo, it's been fun. I appreciate you coming on Corrections Unlocked. Hey guys, if there's any questions you guys might have about Corrections Unlocked or topics you would like to hear discussed, please reach out to correctionsunlocked@gmail.com. Thank you for listening and stay tuned for our next episode.